What's up guys, Scott here from Icon Vehicle Dynamics. We're out in the shop today playing around with the all-new 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser right by me here. This is a very cool truck, a big difference from the $200,000 luxury vehicles we've had in the last 10, 15 years or so. And this new one is much more utilitarian, more off-road worthy, I guess you could say, and honestly more like an FJ Cruiser, if you want to call it that. So during our suspension development, wheel testing and everything like that, we've decided that like a lot of the newer vehicles, the recommended wheel offsets are much more positive than what we've said in the past. For example, everything used to be 0mm, and this guy is much more. So let's talk about why, show you a few different wheel diameters, offsets, tire diameters, widths, and see how that's gonna fit, how the suspension cycles. So this Land Cruiser came stock with 265/60 R20 wheel and tire combo with a positive 65mm offset on the wheels. So the tires sucked really close to suspension, not really ideal for fitting larger and wider tires. If you have issues with upper arm clearance, everything is in the way. So we want to push it out a little bit, but how far do we go? And our recommendation for this vehicle is positive 40mm. So we're going out about 20mm from where or I should say 25mm from where the stock wheel is, and allows for a bigger tire. In this case, we have a 285/65 R18 mounted on an 18-inch Recon SLX by Icon Alloys with that 40mm offset. So a little bit bigger diameter wheel than some guys will choose to run. Icon Alloys currently offers the Recon SLX in an 18-inch, and we're also looking into offering 17-inch diameters with that same 40mm offset because of these new vehicle platforms and offering more options to go on your truck. All right, so let's see how she clears. Full steering lock, and this is pretty much ride height. All right, and so we have a ton of room in the back here. Obviously, you can see you can go a little bit bigger. This particular 285/65 on the 18 is a little bit smaller than our official recommendation, so you got a ton of room. You see up front as well, all kinds of room here, no trimming required, bolt it on and run it. So now let's go to full compression. All right, so now we're up at full compression with the bump stops resting on the lower control arm. And as you can see, we have a ton of clearance for this, this particular tire. A full recommendation of the 33 by 11.5 is going to fill this up really nice. And you're still gonna have a ton of clearance and full steering angle without having to do any trimming or removal of the crash bars on the truck. So let's see. So that's full steering lock. And this is not as much steering angle as you would see at ride height because of the progressive steering stops on the truck. But you can see there's a ton of room back here. All the fender liners in place, crash bars are in place. She doesn't want to spin because it's all-wheel drive, but she'll spin freely. We'll go towards the front here. You can see exact same situation. A ton of room up front. So a full 33 will cycle full suspension travel, full steering cycle lock to lock. So when you're in the rocks, you don't ever have to worry about grabbing your fenders or messing up your brand new truck. It's gonna cycle and work the way you want to. So now, what if you don't wanna run a 33? Let's try something bigger. All right, next up here, we have a 285/70 R18 Falcon Wild Peak on the same Recon SLX wheel, same 40mm offset, and a little bit bigger tire. This works out to be like a 33.5-ish, give or take, once you do the math. And this guy honestly fits quite well. You see, we're already up at full compression because this is where the clearance issues are gonna present themselves. So we're just gonna go straight to that. With the wheel straight, everything tucks up nice, no rub anywhere here. So now let's go ahead and turn full steering lock to the left. Ton of room back here. I have a whole hand's thickness of clearance in the rear. And up front, it's a little tighter with your fender flare as you turn through, but she does clear. And so this tire would fit, I would say, but there's another problem. The factory spare location on the Land Cruiser won't really accept this size tire, which is why we recommend the 33 by 11.5. So you can run a full-size spare to match your other four and have it go in the factory location. Now, if you're running a swing out tire carrier, something else where you're gonna mount that spare elsewhere, obviously we can go a little bit bigger with this 33 by 1.5, but I think we can go more. See what else we got. All right, now we've stepped up to an even bigger tire. This is a 285/75 R18 on the same Recon SLX wheel with the 40mm offset, and we are back up at full compression again. And this is full compression. Bump stop touching the lower control arm, and as you can see, that 40mm offset really works to our advantage here because this big tire tucks up inside of the fender well, and I actually fit my hand right here in front of it and up on top, even though I got big old fat hands. Here we go. See, a different offset would push this tire farther outboard, or I should say a more negative offset will push this tire a lot farther outboard, and it's definitely going to interfere with your fender flare here and the fender liner up inside, and is going to require some trimming in order to make this tire clear at full compression. Let's turn to the rear here, and it's tight, but if it fits, it ships for the most part. In a dynamic scenario, off-road, body mount deflection, bushing deflection, all that jazz, when everything's moving, you might get a little bit of rub back here, but a little bit of trimming, maybe some fender liner removal will give you that extra clearance you need. And up front, we get into the fender liner just a tad here as we're coming through with the steering travel, but then it's not bad. And so a little bit of trimming up front will make this almost a full 35-inch tire. I think it's a 34.8 by 11 1/4-ish by our math. This will kind of fit with a little bit of effort being done to make it clear. But again, she's not gonna fit in your factory spare location. So you're gonna have to figure out something else or somewhere else to mount your full-size spare. So now we want a full 35. This metric stuff, it's not getting it done. So let's give this next one a shot. All right, so now we have a full 35 by 1250 on an 18 Nitto Trail Grappler here. So a full 35-inch tire, what everyone thinks is the standard. And we're back up at full compression, and you can see we are tucked again. Now this tire is not really much bigger diameter than the last one we just saw, but the problem here is now the width. We're about a little over a full inch wider, but you can see at full compression, she clears up top, and I can still, it's tough to get my hand up in here, but it does fit and up on top as well. So at full compression, there's no need for a bump travel limitation to keep this big 35 out of the fender flares. Now when turning, we have a little bit of rubbing in the back. Again, just removing this fender liner is probably all that's going to be needed to solve that. And up front, a little bit more on the fender flare area. But again, if you're willing to try to fit this 35, I think it's possible. However, the wheel itself is really the biggest component in the fitment of these big tires, and allowing it to tuck up inside the factory body lines without having to hack up the truck. Now, what happens if we want to run a wider stance, say a positive 25mm offset instead of the positive 40? Well, let's see how this is going to change the fitment and really see why this is the way to go. Okay, so we're up at full compression, and you can see how nicely the tire tucks up into the fender with this 40mm offset. And the look and the fit of the tire to the side of the truck, you're not going to be slinging mud all down the side. As we come down to roughly ride height, a little bit more. A little more. There we go. So that's probably a rough ride height for the truck. And as you can see, this is a big tire. You know, we're 12.5 inches wide, and a majority of the tire is tucked inside your fender. So you're not going to be flinging mud and rocks down the side of paint and mess up this brand new shiny truck. And you're still going to get that tire fitment and the full suspension turning cycle, all of it, with just a little bit of trimming. The 40mm makes all this happen, but let's try 25mm now. Okay, so now we've sized the tire down considerably. We're down to a 285/70 R17, so a 32 and change-ish tire, small tire, but a positive 25mm offset. And so we're back up at full compression, and even with the 25mm offset on this small of a tire, everything fits just fine. There's plenty of room up top, plenty of room front and rear. We get full steering, lock to lock clearance, no problem. But a little more, a little more, a little more. Yeah, there we go. So at ride height, one of the problems with a 25mm offset is the fact that she comes out so far. As you can see, we have quite a bit more of the tread pattern hanging outside of your fender flare, especially if you don't have your mud flap. If you've unbolted those, you're really gonna be slinging stuff down the side of the truck. Again, this is a small tire. If you want something larger, you're almost certainly gonna have issues up here as far as clearance goes once you get up into full compression. But Icon has got you covered there as well. So we now offer bump stop extension kit for the front of the Land Cruiser that will limit your up travel a little bit, but you're gonna keep that tire out of your fender and basically prevent damage to all the sheet metal here and still get that tire fit and the wider stance, whatever it is you're looking for, we can make that happen. So head on over to iconvehicledynamics.com. Make sure you check out all the Icon Alloys options for the new Land Cruiser, and as well as the upcoming suspension systems that will be released very shortly. And we'll see y'all next time.